La Lanterna, a spotlight in Italian football, is a podcast that dives into the beautiful game seen from the eyes of two fans from the oldest team in Italy's point of view. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, Canadian and Genovese, together with my friend Matt Killen, an American-born and Genoa fan. Every week, we'll tell you all you need to know about the only team you need to know about, Genoa CFC. Plus, we'll have guests and provide updates from around the magical world of Italian football. Benvenuti, welcome to La Lanterna podcast. This is Fabrizio with my best buddy.
Fabry, it's Matt. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm actually laughing and upset at the same time because just before I press the recording button, I just heard that Matt has never, ever been to Canada.
So not one time. Not intentional. I'm not avoiding Canada. We many years, multiple times, we've almost gone. I went to school in Boston, which was a short drive away from Montreal. We were actually in upper New York several times.
Boston and Montreal short?
Yeah, well, depends. If you're a drunk college kid, it's pretty short.
All right.
You get on a bus and you get some whiskey with you or something, and it'll go by quickly. But we were actually in upstate New York, like Lake Placid area, which that actually is short. That's like a 2-hour drive to Montreal.
It is.
And we've been to Buffalo and Finger Lakes a couple of times, which is close to where you are. So still not.
Wait. You've been to Buffalo before you met me.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was.
Right. So I'm going to forgive you just because of that. Just so you know.
I don't think we could go to Buffalo out of. First of all, I guess I can't knock Buffalo, but I'm with you. If you go to Buffalo, you probably should at least go to Toronto too, because it's right there.
Yeah, exactly. So and I'm like in the burbs per se of Toronto.
You're even closer, right? Because you're like
on the west side, so that means closer to the end of Lake Ontario, which kind of then turns around and goes towards the Niagara region all the way to Buffalo. So to me, from my house to Buffalo, it's probably not even an hour.
No shit.
Yeah,
you're right. At least Hamilton, anyway, is really close, like an hour.
That's right.
Mind blown. Well, things you learn.
So everybody's here a witness now that you are going to be coming. No, we're jokes on the side. Before recording, we were talking about meeting because, for the record, we haven't met virtually. We have met virtually, Matt and
70 going on 71 episodes and still
71 episodes. So we have yet to be meeting in person.
It's kind of disgraceful.
I know we've been talking about it, but it hasn't happened yet. But which is okay. It's like one of those loving relationships where you get to know each other, you text each other, and then you get to know, and you meet the person. Is this like?
Are you catfishing me right now? Is this like?
Well, everybody's not seeing us.
I thought you were a beautiful sounding Canadian girl.
Everybody's not seeing us because I'm more like the old school. Like I see podcasts very similar to a radio.
Yeah, me too. I don't like to stream it.
I mean, a lot of people like to add the video, which is cool in a way, but nevertheless, I mean, we could do it one day. But stay tuned about that. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But at the same time, except our guests themselves that have seen us, we're just a poster to everyone, right?
That's what it is.
Jokes on the side. I mean, we're trying to make fun or happiness around. It was actually kind of like every time we're happy that something bad happened. So it's not that something bad happens, but we're going to be talking about it eventually shortly. But we're all pumped up. The two wins, the Salernitana win and the Cagliari came up. In between there was obviously the Reggiana match. And so we were pumped about the two matches. And then obviously the Cagliari comes and we lose 2-1.
Yeah, it was. When we're going through the predictions and stuff, it's a hard one to not look at that match and think, well, we've gotten results against bigger teams. We've done this before. We don't have Retegui, perhaps, but like we can probably still get something out of this game. And one of the things we didn't really talk about very much going into the match, but was actually like a really interesting kind of subplot of the whole thing. At least going into the match, both Genoa and Cagliari were sitting at the bottom of Serie A in terms of possession per game, or average possession per game, I think was the statistic. And so we've seen this multiple times from Gilardino, particularly this season. We've been playing this very, I don't even think it's exactly right to say it's counterattacking. Like, obviously, yes, we're letting the opponent have possession and we need to kind of respond when we win the ball back. But I think it's a very strategic, like, press when we need to press type of a formation that we've been doing. And we've been able to be opportunistic with our goals, either from winning the ball really high up the pitch or from scoring from set pieces. That's kind of how we've been scoring for the most part. Or Goodmanson does something crazy, or maybe Retegui does something pretty amazing. And anyway, I think that we didn't talk about that much in this match. There, would we be more dominant? Would we be more on the offensive? I initially had a pretty angry reaction to this match and how it turned out. But I wonder, I've seen some comments on social media too that I do agree with. I wonder if we just were maybe fitting a square peg in a round hole a little bit with our formation and how we approached the match. And maybe, with a different lineup, we would have had a slightly different result.
Is that a question?
Well, I'm just saying it out loud a little bit. But for me, I think that, like, in particular, what I'm reacting to, and when we were debating about this, are we going to see another 3-5-2? If so, who's coming in as the other two besides Goodmanson in the forward position? We saw Malinovsky there.
If you don't mind, let's start with the lineup. So we have Martinez back on goal. To the left, to the right, we have Vasquez, Dragusin, and De Winter, based on the fact that Bani had a ban, and therefore that's one of the changes that we had in. Then in midfield, so to your point, we had a 3-5-2. In the midfield, we had to the left, to the right again, Martin, Strootman, Badel, Frendrup, and Sabelli. And on the front, whether that is a 3-5-1-1 or 3-5-2, we had Goodmanson and Malinovsky. So to your point, you were saying that we had this variation of not having Puskás, not having Ekuban, and having Malinovsky out of the midfield range and having him a little bit forward. Not as a trequartista, but almost.
Right. Yeah, and I think this is kind of where we started to go wrong. What was obvious is that what we've seen before in some matches, like there's just not enough. We don't have enough of a connection between our midfield and what ultimately are three pretty defensive midfielders. Aaron Martin is really not offered much this season, unfortunately. Sabelli wasn't able to make an impact on the game. And so then all of a sudden you have Goodmanson kind of drifting up front. Now you've got Malinovsky kind of with him, more or less. It wasn't like truly like he was playing a proper number 10. And it seemed like we were kind of doomed in a way with how this whole thing went out. Now, all that being said, you still would expect us to get a little bit more out of the game. I think some of the goals we conceded, particularly I can't remember if it was the first or the second one, but there was one where I think it was the second goal. That clearance from Frendrup, oh my God. Like there were just these moments. I know there was the GSR poll and people were asking who's the man of the match and all this stuff. It's hard to pick a player in a performance like this, honestly. The person that came to my mind, you could probably challenge this, was actually Dragusin, because I feel like he found himself in both situations. In that first one, the first goal, not to kind of relive too much of the madness, but I think it might have been Vasquez, but I don't recall actually on the left-hand side. The ball was won back by Cagliari kind of in their side of the pitch. They advanced pretty quickly. All of a sudden, Dragusin has a 2-on-1, and he's the one. And he's got to decide what he's doing, and he's first closing down the player closest to him. He lays it off. Then he has to run over and go over to that guy. You can see Vasquez and some of the other players trailing in the play, but they're so far out of the play, they're not even able to make anything close to a challenge. They're at least like 10 yards behind what's actually happening. and it's a goal. And you would kind of expect it to be a goal because we were completely outnumbered in that situation. You see when we concede the second time, we also seem to be a little bit at 6s and 7s. It just seemed unusual for a team that was pretty well drilled defensively this season and has responded well. We were all over the place, kind of some sloppiness happening with the buildup of play. This ball comes in, and it almost looked like Frendrup didn't see it or something. He just kind of sticks his foot out, and he basically plays the Cagliari player on for a goal. It was awful. Like it's easily the worst play he's had this entire campaign. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like this wasn't a case of, Genoa just didn't show up and Cagliari deserved the win. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from Cagliari. Like, they got more goals than we did. They got 3 points. But I don't think it was like Cagliari battered us and put in a great game plan. Like, we just fucking fell asleep twice and seemingly had no offensive solution at all beyond Goodmanson, please give us some magical Goodmanson stuff. Thank you. And that's it. And it was an annoying match to watch us piss away because we really needed points, even in an away match against Cagliari.
I have a whole bunch of things to talk about this match, but I mean, not like for hours, but let's start with giving, as we say in Italian, we say dai a Cesare quel che è di Cesare, which means, literally translation means give to Caesar what it's owned by Caesar, meaning what I'm trying to get at is whose fault or where the issue or where the problem started with this match. So contrary to what a lot of people are saying, I personally think that even though in the after-match press conference and so on from Gilardino, he did not directly admit it, I personally think a percentage, almost to the half, just because you give to the manager, to the coach, a little bit higher responsibility compared to the players themselves, to the coach, not only for the formation, but also for the subs. I am not going to blame him for the loss itself entirely. That's why I said close to 50%, just to give a number itself, because then you have also the players factor, right? So why are they, quote unquote, showing so well against major teams, to your point of we have shown to be so great in, great defense and great approach and great even shooting options and whatnot. But in this match, we haven't. So obviously, we are missing our upfront first liners. So both Retegui and Messias, which, to be truth, is what have you seen him? What, 1 or 2 matches and just for a few minutes each one? So who is Messias for Genoa anyways, right? And then Retegui himself too, he played 4 matches out of the 10, 11 that we have played so far? So do we really know him yet? No, we know that he's a F&A awesome player so far, but let's see the second leg how he turns out, hopefully hoping also for the best of his return and his condition. Having said this prefix, we definitely missed Bani, which is an issue in my perspective. In the back, we always talked about a great defense, but at the same time, if you look at them individually, we have no issue against these players. So I'm talking about Vasquez, Dragusin, and De Winter. De Winter a little bit less because he's not your starting 11, and he has done very well in the defense rather than the midfield, right side, and so on. But these are all 20-year-old kids, and you always need a veteran, if I may say, at least one veteran, to make that defense doing the amazing results that we have done so far with Bani especially. Even last year when we had Bani, Dragusin, and Vogliano, it was always Bani anyways, right? So golden medal really to Bani. Let's keep him unless anything changes, but I don't want to lose him. So going back to Gilardino's formation, the defense, he had no other choice. I'm not complaining on the defense at all. I'm just saying.
Did you not think? I mean, I think the defensive choice was correct, but I mean, of course, Vogliano, I suppose, could be in place of one of De Winter or Vasquez if you wanted to pick a bone. But it doesn't seem like that decision was a really controversial one, though.
No, not at all. Vogliano is not ready for the matches yet. He needs to be integrated. Even though he did end the Serie B with a high tone with his performance and so on, he still needs his coming back in and with the minutes and so on. So it's a both factor. Serie B is not Serie A, and the minutes that he doesn't have in his legs yet. So no concerns. Yes, they did have issues with the 2 goals. Only 2 goals, mind you. There were only 4 on target, shots on target, where 2 were goals, but the other 2 were just like whatever, honestly, to be. I didn't see any major saves by Martinez to say, oh my God, they shot us to death and we were so lucky. And the 2 goals only came thanks to Martinez. No, honestly, the other 2 were just almost like, okay, I kicked it, but Martinez was there. No, the midfield is my biggest issue. Badel and Strootman together, even though they have been great in the years past, they're getting. We talked about it throughout. You know that. It's there. What do you call them? The left and the right side. So Zabelli and Mark. Yeah. This year,
Greenbacks, right?
They're just like an issue, and perhaps it's how it is this year. We have to live with it, and hopefully Hefty didn't show yet, right? Remember him from the olden days.
Are you worried about that? Like I at least keep wondering about this, because I'm with you. It's like we've not really figured this position out, which is part of a problem, I think, too, because this was something that was so consistent in Serie B. The support we were getting from Sabelli in particular, but also Payet. But like that was a big part of how we got points and how Gilardino trotted the team out and all of those type of things. I continue to find myself a little surprised that Sylvan Hefty is not ever given a shot. I mean, am I alone in this? Like, what do you think's going on?
I mean, we can only see what we can only see. We only see from the external, from what I have read, based on the words that have been written and what we have seen. Mm-hmm. After his huge issue that we saw from last year, that we barely saw him, he's still trying to get out of it, and still integration, I suppose. Let's remember that the better days of Hefty were not with Gilardino, and that I'm not complaining about the Gilardino-Hefty relationship. I'm just saying that Hefty is still not at par, and unfortunately, while we are agreeing that or not, the groin or whatever that issue that he had from last year, which is one of the most awful that can actually happen to a player. He did play several times even last year. Everybody hated him and so on, but he still showed up with that humongous amount of pain that was still in place, right? So am I concerned about him? Obviously, because he's one of our players. I'm more concerned about the fact that we don't really have, we're counting on the right side for Sabelli. Great guy, but honestly, do we really need, is he really the greatest player of all on the right side? No.
There's obviously deficiencies there. Like I'm still not even sure Hafs is exactly the solution on the left side. Also,
I was going to get at as well. On the right side is Sabelli right now. Hefty, we just talked about him. On the left side, who do we have? So I'm thinking about those fans that are talking about people. Dogs are killing me. Sorry, they're just biting my my interiors, and I'm almost to die. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, there's some horseplay going on over here.
No, what I wanted to say was, like, on the right side, we talked about Sabelli, which is a subpar great player. Like, if you look at the quantity he's giving to the team, like, probably we want all players like him. If you look at the quality, we all know that he's not like your Serie A level, right? Hefty would be the one, but he's not there yet. On the left side, when you talk about Martin and Haps, to your point, what I was trying to wrap back to is Haps. I'm personally very disappointed based on what I've seen last year. So I'm probably kind of circling back to the fact maybe he's just Serie B material. And Martin, I just think Martin, or whatever it's called, I'm a little bit disappointed on the expectations that we had about him.
No, I mean, look, it's a major problem when we're talking about what we have right now. So we brought in Sabelli last season to help with the Serie B campaign, and we didn't really have enough budget to completely overhaul the squad. He was also a big part of Serie B. I could understand giving him a shot, and we had Hefty from before, but there's potentially some questions there when you look on the left side. We have 2 players we brought in brand new this season, and neither of them have worked. And it's just like, man, this is not great. Haps had a wonderful goal in the cup, but he's really not looked like a player with skill.
Yeah, see, that's the point. Like, people, sorry if I'm interrupting here, but essentially people are like, we're raving about Haps after that amazing.
It was a very good goal.
Right? Goal. But hey, wait a minute. Because he scores does not mean he's a great player. It's just a great goal in that right specific moment. Then he could disappear forever, right? So that's, like I'm saying, calm down with the goal. I'm going back. On the left, we have no one that is reliable. On the right side, we have Sabelli, who is reliable, but there's no quality. In the midfield, we continue to see Strootman, Badel, Friendrup. Friendrup's, unfortunately, based on what you also said as well, like confirming what you said as well, was probably his worst match ever. Otherwise, he was almost, if not the best player, almost the second best player. I'm talking about Friendrup. So no complaints against Friendrup. Strootman and Badel, I have an issue with their subs, and we're going to get to that in a second. And themselves specifically, with respect to either, you can see Strootman cannot handle running too much. Badel's fine. I still don't like when people are complaining about him, because he makes a huge difference when he's playing compared to when he's not. Sure, he's not a fast-paced player, but so far, without having anyone to replace him, so far I'm not complaining at all for the quality that he's giving, to the team. Strootman, quality is great, but for his role, he needs to be a little bit more active, and he still gives quite good quality, but there's no subs, and we're going to get to that after, as I mentioned.
Well, I was going
to say Malinowski. There was quite a lot of conversations on the paper, on the media, and so on about his showing. I am a little bit disappointed so far, because right now we're at match day, going towards match day 12. I thought for the levels and the quality of this player, we would have seen a little bit more. Mind you, against Cagliari, he was way outside of his role, which was the same type of approach that was given to him his role, compared to the roles that were given to him when we saw him and enjoyed him with Gasperini. And so this match against Cagliari, even though I see the point of Gilardino trying to find some solution to the attacking modules and so on, I just think it was the wrong one. So I give a little bit the most of the fault to Gilardino, meaning you are the coach. You're supposed to know that this is not the spot for Malinowski. And Gudmundsson is Gudmundsson. I'm going to recap, basically say the same thing you said the other time. Gudmundsson does the Gudmundsson thing, and that's why we have his great, amazing goal.
Delicate cross, not dealt with. Gudmundsson! It had to be him. The Icelandic forward just keeps on scoring. An equalizer 2 minutes after Cagliari took the lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point you're making, which is a really good one, is that we love Gudmundsson, but it's not enough to only be reliant on that. Even against a team like Cagliari, and again, I don't mean to shit on Cagliari because they beat us, and they beat us fairly, but this is a match that we needed to get something out of, and we did not.
Cagliari is not unbeatable. We've seen it against us, against this. Like, how many players are we out? 2 in the front, 1 in the back, and fine, we're talking about the 2 left, right, back, and so on. But let's even talk about without the 2 attackers per se and the main central defender. I think this Cagliari could have been beaten very easily. Mind you, Ranieri is an old fox, as we say in Italian, an vecchia volpe. He knows what he's supposed to do. He did his counterattack a little bit, not on the same line of what you were talking about earlier, but that's what he does. And that's what he did for winning. I don't know. So let's talk about quickly, if you don't mind me, talking about the subs. So we didn't use all 5. We used only 4. We had Thorsby in lieu of Strootman because he couldn't handle it anymore. So it was good that he had to be sub. you know what I think about Thorsby. Great, some actions here and there, but overall, is he the core that needs us to help us with respect to the midfield? No, he's probably better as a trequartista than as a midfielder in a way. Then he took out Badel, which was a weird, not sure really what happened there with, unless you understand it better, with the module itself. So he took Badel out and came in Puskas. At that point, I knew we were doomed. So that was at the 59th after we were 1-1. Puskas came in instead of Badel. 59th minute, and even that goal. So people talking about he stopped it wrongly, then and so on. But seriously, he did not stop it badly. It was a decent stop with respect to, I'm talking about that missed chance that he had. I'm sorry, this is the third major miss that Puskas is having in Serie A, where if he had done that goal as a pure striker and he had a clear chance in front of the goalie, this one even furthermore, fresh to mind anyways.
Genoa looking for an equaliser in added on time. This is Morten Thorsby. Goes for a cross. Puskas now on the line, and Scuffet saves the day for Cagliari.
I'm sorry, he's doomed. He's done. He's cooked. He's over.
It's really disappointing. I mean, this was a chance we didn't necessarily deserve to level the game and to get something out of the match, which would have been, I think, honestly, if you would have given us a point at that point in the match, would have absolutely taken your hand off. And I don't think we even need to set the stage for anyone listening to this podcast, because they've all seen it, I'm sure, by now, and it just is absolutely terrible. It's pure one-on-one all the time in the world, and he pretty much makes the keeper's job. It doesn't make it easy, but it's a save from the keeper. It doesn't cause too much of a fuss. I think that Puskas this is why it just, when you look at this match, I'm with you. You can't really, I don't think the blame is correctly placed mainly on Gilardino. However, this is the advocate for maybe not starting one of Strootman. I personally would have much preferred Frendrup, Malinowski, Badel than Frendrup, Strootman, Badel, and then either Puskas or Ekuban, take your pick, as the forward. I think that honestly would have made a ridiculous difference in this match.
Matt, I totally agree. I think that regardless, I think he got too. Personally, I don't think he does this, but it happened that Gilardino got pressure too much from the media, the press, or even internal pressure with respect to the fact of you have to do something about these two idiots, meaning, and I'm referring to Ekuban and Puskas, because this is not working, essentially, right? Even though we won against Salernitana, even though we won against Reggiana, we had to go into the penalty, not the penalties, but to the extra time and so on. But that's what happened with the Malinowski, and that's why I said at the beginning, I think it was a major mistake with respect to what happened there. Now, when Badel was subbed by Puskas, perhaps because Badel just couldn't handle anymore the minutes there. Anyways, then a few minutes after at this, so this happened at the 59th. 66 minutes, so that was not even 10 minutes later, we have Martin coming in, being subbed by Haps, because Martin was probably another bad match anyways. No, without take out the probably. It was another bad match.
It was another bad match. You can't say it any other way.
Haps was just another Haps expression or / performance. Mediocre. Nothing bad, but nothing amazing. And then lastly, Malinowski came out at the 84th for Ekuban. Sure. We go back to what we said. So Puskas is our striker. So he's the official replacement for the taking. Ekuban, we have been placing him as a striker, but he's not a striker. He's a winger. And then at the end, we had indeed surpassed Cagliari at the end in the last 10 minutes with both Puskas and Ekuban up front, including, if you think about Gudmundsson himself, we had a lot of chances, including that goal that we just heard about, the miss about Puskas and so on. I think that showed where the mistake from Gilardino. But going back to what I was trying to say is, we have indeed a very mediocre team when you talk about the non-starting 11.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I mean, look at Cagliari, okay? Like a lot of teams in this end of the table, we're going to be in this position, and we have to make the most out of what we have. It's not like we gave up worldies to future, Azzurri greats on Cagliari's side. Like, this is ridiculous. We can get more out of these matches. It's unfortunate that we have what we have. It's a reality. I think we talked a little bit about this in the last podcast with our campaign coming up to Serie A. We knew we could only spend so much. We had shared on the group chat. I shared one of Matteo's points of view from Genoa Club New York and also Genoa Si Resta, where he was basically saying, it seems like we pretty much spent the budget on Retegui and then we got scraps. And that's kind of what it looks like, to be honest.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
I think it's really unfortunate about Torsby and Kutlu because we knew our midfield group was old and we needed some younger players there. Neither of those players look at all ready, which is embarrassing because Torsby spent a few years in Serie A. We talked about Martin and Haps, which is a big problem given that's actually a position that we need to have a player for. At this point, I'd rather almost put Sabelli over there and have Hefty on the right, which, by the way, probably will happen. And
could. Anyway.
Macias, I think it's hard to say. Malinowski, look, I am among the contingent of supporters that I think Malinowski will eventually settle in. I understand why people will say, eventually, the season's a third of the way over almost. Don't disagree with you. But I think we will eventually see his quality come in. I think we will see Macias's quality come in eventually. But we still have other players, We have youth players. We have Ekuban. We have Puskas. And for me, one of the bigger things, I wonder a little bit, I think about matches a little bit more from a goalkeeper's point of view because I understand that position better. And, if you're a player like Martinez, so this is not at all a controversial topic, but I want to quickly discuss it. You could say Leali had some fantastic matches when Martinez was out. Shouldn't we have Leali come in and be the number one keeper? Shouldn't he be the guy that's deserved to be the number one? And the answer to that question is no, you shouldn't, because we can't cause all of a sudden some sort of uncertainty and set an expectation that our goalkeepers will be promoted or demoted based off of their performance in the last match or last couple of matches. Because what happens is when you do that, goalkeepers are always looking over their shoulder. And especially in a position like that, and I know it well, you make one error and the game could be over. So you cannot risk that with that position. You have to make it clear. And we are fortunate we have a keeper like Leali as our backup. I think it's a wonderful asset, and we know that in the cup competitions he'll be solid for us. I think about striker not that dissimilarly. We have Retegui. Retegui's hurt. We have a couple of players who have not really played for us this season. Puskas and Ekuban. They've not gotten opportunities. They've not been voted confidence in all. But we've had Retegui missing for how many matches this season, and how many of them have either of those two started? And so then you put them on in the 70th minute. Ekuban came in at 84. He didn't even register on a match rating standpoint because he came in so late in the match. He can't even say what he did beyond passing the ball maybe once or twice. As a professional footballer, you have to be able to come in whenever you're called on, and I truly believe in that. There are plenty of examples of great players like that. Puskas is obviously out of confidence. He looked like a player that had some skills last season at some point.
Matt, out of confidence or just not? I'm trying to poke you at confrontation. Not at it, or just no quality for Serie A?
I mean, honestly, Fabry, I think you take a beer league player and you give him that same chance against the same keeper in that same position, and he probably scores 7 out of 10 times. I don't think this.
I read this on social media, and I have to quote this. Me, and I'm quoting myself. If I was in the match, drunk, and had that opportunity that Puskas had it, I would have scored. To say that goal that he missed was really bad.
It was bad, but that's for me. That's my point. It's not about Serie A versus Serie B. A player in fucking Serie C, a player in Eccellenza could have scored that goal. We have a guy who has been in other levels of this game, who actually had some good goals for us in Serie B, mind you, who is not himself. I don't think Puskas is a player we should put statues for.
Rumors right now seems that he might have an outing, and I'm doing double cross fingers here, for the January market back to Bari.
Puskás would go back to Bari. I mean, look, I think that would be it's an option. All these things, you have to consider them, right? Like I'm saying that a player like this, we need to get confidence. We're not getting results. We've not got results from Puskás. We've not got results from Ekuban. We've not properly given either of them a real go at a match.
Well, Ekuban out of role.
Out of role as well, yes. But I still think an Ekuban in a forward partnership is worth exploring. I think Puskás is closer to that, to your point. But these are the types of things that you would hope that Zangrilo and company. I guess Zangrilo's not making this decision specifically, but you'd hope that this is on the table, because as much as you can talk about these guys not having form and not getting enough game time, that's kind of my argument. That's the devil's advocate argument. The obvious thing that we're seeing in real time is that it's not good enough. And so if it's not good enough, then you need somebody else who is good enough. And the only way we're going to get someone else that is good enough is if you can do that. If you can offset it somehow. We're probably still paying for more, or at least some of his salary if he goes back to Bari, but at least that's getting paid by someone else, and it gives us some funds to put towards a replacement. So I don't know. I think you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's a ridiculous opportunity to not score, and it's not the first time that's happened.
So let's put it this way. I am confident on the ownership, whether that is Spurs, whether that is Ottolini, and I'm quoting, for whoever doesn't know, the general manager or the sports director, general sports director of the 777 Group, or the sports director of Genoa. Directly to pitch into the January market and do something. Anything is better than nothing. So I'm not expecting, and I should quote this or remark this or underline it or highlight it for any Genoano that is listening to us. Let's not expect miracles, but anything is better than what it is. Because if we had the starting 11 without any injury and without any issues right now, we'd probably be at a different spot. We're not in a bad spot. If you look at the actual table, we're 14th spot, just below Lecce, which was raved to be like, the new surprise and so on. It's only 2 points above us. We are still, 4 points to the relegation, a third the way, as you mentioned, on the championship. We're more or less what was expected from this championship. So we're only really complaining about nothing. And having said that, we talked about the fact of so many starting 11 players that haven't been really there, right? So I'm not complaining. Obviously, I want more. I'm a Genoano, so obviously I want more. We just got promoted. We are seen as a newly promoted team, so a recluta, whatever you want to call it from an Italian perspective. Obviously, I want to be at the levels of Bologna, Roma, Fiorentina right now. Fiorentina is actually underperforming, in my opinion, but they're, supposedly doing amazing. Monza, I think they're overperforming, and we'll see a different Monza in the second part of the league. Lecce is obviously doing what they're supposed to do. Frosinone, I'm surprised actually with the match happened on Monday, their win and so on. They brought themselves to 15 points and just like shy of 2 points to the 7th spot. It's like Frosinone. But, are we better than Frosinone? The truth is, no. If we had the starting 11 from the get-go, that would have been a different thing. And that's the only fault, contrary to what a lot of Genoani are saying, especially on the Italian side, especially on the PSR side. They're complaining about what they have done on the transfer market. They have done amazing for what we could do. We're not with Preziosi anymore that has hands everywhere, first of all. Secondly, if you look at the starting 11 without injuries, we would have had a great team. The issue, and it's okay for a newly promoted, is the bench. That was my point with starting with listing all the players that were on the match against Cagliari. Having said that, let's go quickly to the Verona match. Verona, great crisis after the loss that they just had. They're now sitting on the 18th spot at 8 points. 1 point against Cagliari. Cagliari just came out of the bottom three that we've seen them forever. It's one of those ones that you're like, okay, this is the last. We say in Italian, l'ultima spiaggia, the last beach, which means this is their last match to really do something. Otherwise, something's going to change. And the rumors have it that their coach is going to flip, essentially. be sacked and so on if they don't do any positive results against Genoa. So it'll be at the Ferraris. It's going to be played. We're recording right now late. I know. I'm sorry. I don't know when it's going to be aired. Hopefully on Thursday. We're recording right now on Wednesday. The match is going to be on a Friday. It's important. It's not a last spiaggia for us, and last spiaggia meaning the last beach again for us, etc. Because we're doing, as I said, we're doing okay for what our aim is. I don't know if you have any different opinion about that, but it's important to do good and well and get these points against our direct teams that have that, the lower bottom of the table.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, this is a game. This is why I was talking up the match against Cagliari so much, is that, it might seem like, hey, we got points against these other big teams. Maybe we can relax a little bit. It's the exact opposite. We need to be getting as many points from teams that are going to be probably in and around where we're going to be at the end of the year as much as we possibly can. And so I think this is one where it's in the exact same category. We got to do something with it. I agree with you that also where Genoa are sitting, again, 11 matches, 14th position. I'm not complaining about that. I mean, the issue
right now with Verona is the exact same we have with Cagliari. So at the end, if they're smart and if they have, they don't have the attack of Cagliari. They don't have the bench and the attack. Look at the attack of Cagliari. Really, why are they in the fourth last spot? When you have Pavoletti, sure, he's 40? I'm joking about that. But they have a whole bunch of players that are, seriously, on the forward. Their defense is whatever. If we had Retegui and Bani, we would have smashed them. So regardless of whatever people are saying and so on, I personally think that just these two players, just having two players that are in the infirmary and having them in our roster or anyways in our starting 11 in good health and so on, this would have been a different match. So I'm not concerned about the match against Cagliari, even though it did wake up a lot of comments, right?
It certainly did.
What starting 11 are we going to have against Verona, man? Differently compared to Cagliari.
I think what I imagine we'll see is some variation in formation because of what we just talked about. We've been deploying the 3-5-2. We are missing something. We have to transplant one of those midfield players and put him in as a striker. I will say that I actually have a little bit of concern with Verona to a degree. I know this is maybe relatively minor. Maybe we won't see all these players, but I recognize a few names, I guess I can say, from the Bundesliga. Players like Andre Duda, Suat Serdar, Arjun Rustic, as example. They're not terrible players from Verona's perspective. I'm not sure that this is a squad that really has everything at their forefront and can really be one that makes us have a difficult match, but they have some great players, or some interesting players, I guess. Great is probably too much of a word. I think that this is going to be similarly hard fought. It's difficult to imagine us just pasting a team with goals at all when we don't have our full strength. And even when we do, we were never doing that. So I think the match is obviously critical. But the unfortunate thing about losing the Cagliari is now all of a sudden we have pressure on this stupid match, which pisses me off so much. We're coming back home. It
is a pressure, but it's a partial pressure.
I mean, yes, but I don't know. We've won. What's our record in the last 5? We've gotten a win and a draw in 5 matches and 3 losses. Am I mistaken with that? We're dropping more points. We're playing a team that, if I don't need to say this, but Verona win, they will be level with us on points. They'll still probably be behind us because of their goal differential. But, I mean, God forbid, if they get something out of this, then all of a sudden we are looking closer towards 15, 16, 17, 18, where Hellas Verona are sitting right now. And you can make this a big dramatic thing like I'm doing right now, or you can just focus on the task, which I'm sure Gilardino and company are doing ahead of the match. If we don't win this match, it's going to be problems. And I think the players know enough to know that that's the case. And that's why it has me nervous, because even if we get a point against Cagliari, that's not the case, but we didn't. And so now we have to go home, play Hellas Verona, and make sure we get something out of this match. Really make sure we get 3 points. They are obviously...
You have a point. The standings, even though a lot of people have complained about the loss, and I'm disappointed too, obviously.
Yeah.
Except for Cagliari that got out of the bottom three, really for the whole bottom, the second half of the standings, what really changed? Nothing really, because all the bottom except Udinese and Cagliari have all lost. So really not much as well. To your point though, if we lose again at home and against Verona, it's a concerning aspect. But my point is, we don't have any changes to the actual formation. I do believe in Gilardino. He has shown us in the past that he is very stronghold with respects to the fact of mentality. So he does learn from the mistakes. And I think that he has done some mistakes in the Cagliari match. So unfortunately, Ranieri has, and those multicolored have come out in the social media. Oh, it's another derby that we have won and so on. Fuck you. Anyways, being a Ranieri, a former multicolor coach. Anyways, having said
I'm sorry,
that,
I can't hear them from the depths of hell, which was they're sitting on 7B right now.
At the bottom, which they only have really resurfaced in the bottom three to be the fourth last and still looking at Serie C. Anyways, having said that, the part that pisses me off more about social media is those fans or non-fans of Sampdoria, but sympathizers of Sampdoria, that as soon as 1 point or 2 points or no, there's no 2 points, but 3 points that come up, they're like, here, look, I'm showing Serie A, but I'm going to talk to you about also Serie B match about them. Like, anyways, it's okay. I'm not upset about it. These are Gen Millennial or Gen Z. No, not even Z. What do you call those? Ys. Gen Ys that have lived their lives. No offense to the Millennials, of course, but have lived their lives, or Gen X's, anyways, with the 90s where Sampdoria has done well, but before that, they were nothing. Since then, the 90s, they have done nothing. So once those generations kind of go away, then that team is going to disappear. While, history, it's there. So anyway, sorry, this is a different topic. You know all about that. We know all about that. And there's no point really to go back. Anyways, back to the Verona match. I don't think the formation is going to change. Maybe the module could change. I'm hoping for Malinowski to be back in the midfield and on the forward, as you mentioned. And honestly, why not a 4-3-3 with Goodmanson behind both Ekuban and Puskás at this point? We don't have any option up front. Why not try that from the beginning and then sit back after you get your point, your goals or so on? I don't know. I'm just saying that the formation that he has put for Cagliari was a wrong one. And as it stands right now, we're still with the same type of formation. Maybe we're not even sure about Bani being back.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I think it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
All right. So I guess we can wrap this up. I only wanted to mention unfortunate loss that we had on the Primavera side against Inter. We lost 2-0. It doesn't put us in a bad spot. We're about half table through there. The team is strong. It's a good team this year for the Primavera. We're not going to see anything spectacular stars, but definitely being the first. Also for Primavera, the first year back, it's not doing bad at all. Let's finish it with the predictions, Matt.
So I mentioned I think it's going to be a difficult match. I don't think we're going to win. I think it'll be 1-1 Genoa Verona. I think
shame on you.
No shame. I completely think that we are in need of some new ideas and new ways, and maybe we'll see more. Maybe we'll see some youngsters getting a shot. Who knows? I don't think we will in this match, but I'm not really feeling all that confident, to be honest. I don't mean that as a negativity in Gilardino's side. I don't mean there's negativity in the squad, but I don't know. We've not looked that great the last 5 games.
Loss or tie?
It'll be a draw. I believe that Dragushin will score. I don't think we're going to be angry, but I think we'll be a little bit disappointed to not have 3 points. What do you think?
As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I think there is going to be reaction. We have not done great showings against the direct contenders. But I think after the Cagliari match, which was highly disappointed for everyone, and what I'm saying by that is not only from media, not only from fans, but everyone, I think Gilardino's going to push that button to the players, which he has always been great for, to make that difference. This is going into the break for the national break. I think that difference is going to happen. Then we can come back from the international break a little bit more relaxed rather than anxious with a tie and or a loss against Verona. Verona is in a situation of 4 losses in the last 5 matches and in a row. So I don't know. Either we resuscitate, zombies as it has happened in the past for Genoa, or ultimately this is their condemnation to change their coach, and hopefully for them something has changed. Will change after that. We are not, from a fan perspective, friends with them. I try to reach out even to their New York. We tried to reach out to their New York fans and nobody really answered. It's okay, no big deal. But at the same time, we want a good result, and I think that there is going to be a reaction from the players, because they're not happy too. I heard this interview from after the post match from Badel, and he was quite honest. He said, "We did not do enough chances in order to come back with a positive result." So the players know what they need to do. They just need to be a little bit more focused. Obviously, we don't have enough players that we have. The benches, we didn't talk about Yagiello or Yagiawa, whatever that is. I think he's going to be ready as well. So we have at least 1, 2, 3, but Bani is still on the doubt as of today. So I don't know. We at least have two major players, maybe Bani, so 3, and we need to focus totally and do the best. Obviously, Verona's not doing great, and I honestly think it's going to be a 2-0. I don't know why. It's going to be the 12th player as the Gradinata Nord, the stadium itself. It's going to be sold out against Verona, 30,000 people. I think that's going to happen. Who is going to score? Honestly, it depends on the imagination and, the formation and the module and so on, whether that is a 3-5-2 or 4-3-3 or whatever that might look like. Goodmanson will do his Goodmanson thing, and I'm quoting you, or we're going to have some spectacular goal from our benchers, which I'm expecting that to happen because they have to step up.
I hope that you're right. I like that prediction a lot better than mine, for sure. I think I could see that, though. I could see, I don't mean to overly discount our team as a whole or our manager, because I think there's obviously a situation where we win this game. It's just we've been missing some answers recently, and hopefully we can get back on track against Verona.
That's awesome. So we are at a wrap. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Drop us a comment, drop us a like, or whatever that's called. I don't know. I'm getting confused every time. But anyways, follow us, spread the word and so on. Let us know if you want to be part of our We Are Genoa chat. It's a Genoa exclusive, Genoa English speaking chat on WhatsApp. Let us know, send us a direct message. We want to include you, of course. But never forget, always and forever, always and forever, especially now against Verona. Forza Genoa.
You've listened to La Lanterna, a spotlight on Italian football, a podcast powered by Genoani Si Resta. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.